Welcome to Project Generation Strong. I'm Jessie. We're joined today by Loreana Acosta. If some of you may know that I'm an elite powerlifter and I represent Australia, Loreana is also an elite powerlifter who represents Costa Rica. So between us we have quite a bit of competition experience, which we would love to share with some of you today.
Alright, so today we want to talk about how to get ready for the meet, what do you need to prepare, how your nutrition should look like, how you do to warm up in between each of your attempts, how you meant to choose your first weight for squat, bench and deadlift, also a little bit of mental preparation, and this are going to be more or less the topics that we are having today.
So let's start with what we need to prepare the night before we go to competition. So Lo, tell me about what it is that you pack and prepare before you, while you're at home.
Well, in my case, I try to make it really easy. I try to treat my meets like any other training day. That makes life way easier. So if you have your training bag, just bring your training bag, because you're meant to have all your toys. I mean, if you need resistance bands to warm up, if you need any sort of, I don't know, small balls for facial release. So very important is that you make sure you have all your competition equipment. You have with you your singlet, you have your teacher. If you need an extra teacher, why not? Bring it with you. If you need extra clothes, bring it with you. Make sure if you are a lifter that needs your lifting shoes for squat, they are with you. If you need different shoes, for example, for bench or for deadlift, they are also with you. Also in terms of socks, you need long socks for the deadlift. It doesn't matter what you wear for bench and squat. You need your belt, you need your knee slips, and grease wraps. This is basically the equipment that you should have in your bag for your midday.
So next, let's talk about nutrition on meet day. Because if you turn up, you've got all your clothing, great, but if you don't have your nutrition on point, you won't have any energy by the end of the competition to do your final lifts. So we compete in federations that have a 2-hour weigh-in, which means you weigh in 2 hours before lifting starts, which usually means that you won't have food until you weigh in. Which means we then have to really consider how we're going to get enough nutrients so that we can have energy for the lifting.
For the competition and also in terms of performance. Now, for this meeting, remember and keep it in mind, is fun. The idea is to build up the community and to meet more people, and also an opportunity for yourself to test your maximums. But even though that there is a small weight categories, the weight is not that important for this midday. So for amateur lifters, I would not recommend to start thinking in some sort of crazy cut ways, like, I don't know, dehydration or I'm gonna fast or something crazy like that. Try to do what you do in normal days and what you do especially during normal training days.
Exactly. So I find, as I'm always going to think about what is my first meal as soon as I have weighed in. I'm always trying to get some type of protein and carbohydrates that are really simple for my body to digest. So for me, I found things like maybe a chicken wrap that I'll have straight after weigh-in, or some kind of white bread sandwich that's going to be easy for my body to process. I've also done in the past protein yogurt with as overnight oats, so the oats were really soft and was easy for me to digest. That was all things that worked really well for me. What have you done?
Well, in my case, I guess I'm the crazy one, because I get really anxious because I'm always in the limit of my weight category. So basically I try not to eat anything before the weigh-in. After weigh-in, hydration is really, really important. And then my meal is basically like a grab, because I need to get some sort of protein, a little bit of vegetables and simple carbs. I don't want to eat too much because I don't want to feel very full when I know that almost immediately I need to start my warm-up. So basically I take bread and spread it on of Nutella, and that is my meal before lifting. Bread and Nutella, basically.
So we also really need to prioritize staying hydrated, as Lo mentioned. So during the whole day, you want to make sure that you have lots of water, lots of like electrolytes, so things like Gatorade or Rehydrate even. Anything that you can keep drinking, because you're going to really struggle to absorb anything during the meet, just because you're like in this high stress situation. Your body is using all of its energy to do this lifting, which means you're not going to be, your gut isn't going to be doing the work to absorb nutrients. So everything will be going through you. You're going to need as constantly be hydrating. Yeah,
I personally use BCAAs, is what I use when I'm training on daily basis, and also recommend do not try anything that you never tried before. The midday is not the good day to try it. And especially if you're having Gatorade, try to buy one that is already prepared. Don't try to mix it up yourself. If you do the wrong quantity of Gatorade, you can get in really problems and ended up in the toilet during the whole meet. You don't want that.
You really don't. During lifting, like between each of the big lifts, we're also looking at trying to get in more nutrition. So as soon as we finish squats, we're going to try and get more food in. As soon as we finish bench, we'll try and get more food. I personally find like just nothing really agrees with my stomach. It was something I found when I was competing in CrossFit as well. So a strategy I found was baby food that just worked for me. It was so easy to just like, I'd have a pile of baby food sachets and I just like suck those down.
I just keep eating like gummy bears. During the whole competition, I don't really eat much for squat and bench. I just keep going. And for the deadlifts, I probably will have another Nutella sandwich. That could be my strategy. One of the questions I've been receiving is how to choose the openers for these competitions. So what I suggest is, especially for squat, try to choose a weight that you feel comfortable doing 3 repetitions. Why? Because it's the first lift and you don't want to fail. That is going to give you a lot of security to keep going. It's going to bring your adrenaline up. So you need to make like really wise decisions in this aspect. I don't know if you have any recommendation, especially for bench and deadlift.
As Lo mentioned, with all of the first attempts, it needs to be an attempt that you are 100% confident with. That on any day, even on your worst lifting day, you could make that lift. There's nothing worse for a lifter than failing that first attempt. If you fail all 3 of your lifts, then you can't have a total and you don't complete the meet. So that's like a worst case scenario. No one ever wants to be in that situation. Like we said, if you choose a number for that first attempt that's super conservative and comfortable for you, it's going to give you confidence so that then your second attempt will be a number that is probably not a PR. It's going to be a number that you're just comfortable, that is going to be close to your max. And then your third attempt is where you push yourself and challenge yourself. Like I personally am always like super conservative with all my attempts. Even if it's my final attempt, it may be a PR, but it may only be 2.5 kilos on what I've done before. Because long term, you're looking at not just what your total is today. As lifters, we want to look at what is our total going to be in 6 months, in a year, in 2-3 years. So I think the lifters that generally fail long term are the ones who are thinking too short term. So if you can have a meet where you get close, like 9 for 9 and you make all of your lifts, that's going to be a more successful competition than you getting some of your lifts and then failing because you went too high. It's really important when you're starting out that you're getting confidence and that you're getting technically better at performing on meet day.
Also, to continue about how to choose the weights, something that people may forget is your jumps shouldn't be like really big. Like people normally jump sometimes into 5 and 5 kilograms, and they forget that actually you have the option of 2.5 kilograms, which are the small silver plates of 125. So do not forget that that option is available. Why? There is weird weights, for example, that you can ask for. Like if you are in a squat, you can say, I want 122.5 kilo. And I know we are not used to process that kind of weights, but probably something in between is a successful lift and no an item that you may lose in the middle of the competition. So keep it in mind, and especially for female athletes, my call will be especially for the bench. We are not that strong in our upper body in comparison to male benchers, right? So probably we don't want to make big jumps of 5 of 10 kilo because it's not gonna happen. Like remember, in bench you have different commands. It's the most technical lift. So you need to be aware that you have spotters. They are gonna help you to lift off the barbell if you want. Like you need to make sure, if you are used to have a lift off during training, you just ask for it. If you want to do it yourself because you feel more comfortable, which is Jesse's case, for example, you just said no lift off. Why is that importance of the lift off? Because you get used to it to be in the right position, and if you have like big guys that may lift you off completely from the bench, you're gonna lose the tension on the back, and definitely you won't be in the right place. So remember, you can choose that. Remember that the commands are gonna be start when you are completely locked. You're gonna move the barbell, it's gonna touch the chest, and then the referee is gonna say press. After the command press is when you push all the way through. And remember that you lock up, and then the referee is gonna say rock. Then is when the barbell goes back. Also, these spotters are gonna help you to remove the barbell from you. So don't get afraid or rush it out that I want to get rid of the barbell.
So when you've chosen your first attempts, then that's the sort of the easy part done maybe, because we've got to make sure that we've warmed up appropriately for our first lift. So what the biggest lesson I learned from having coaches that handled me that were very experienced in competing was learning how to time back your warm-up lifts from the time that lifting would start. So if you know that lifting starts at 10 a.m. and that you're in the first flight, so you're going to be in the first group of 10 lifters at 10 a.m. and there's 10 lifters, they'll all have at least a minute each on the platform. So we can assume it's going to be about 10 minutes of lifting.
Yeah.
Then you work out, because you'll see from the people's first attempt selections, they're all put in ahead, that you're the 5th lifter in that flight, which means 5 minutes from 10 is going to be your first lifting attempt. Now, you don't want to be doing your final warm-up lift 15 minutes before your first lift. You'd want to do it maybe 5 minutes before, which means your last warm-up attempt will be as the first lifters are starting. So then you're going to time back all your warm-up lifts. So I don't do a lot of warm-up lifts. I do probably about 3 heavy singles, and then I do a triple and a 5. And so I just have 5 sets until I do my warm-up, until I do my first lift. Some people prefer more. That's going to be your preference, and you really want to do it as similar to what you do in training as possible. But if you know that you're going to do 5 sets, you're going to time back from what is the time my first lift is going to be, and then you'll work out. So that means I have to be, again, maybe do 5 minutes between each lift, because it's very natural when you first start that because you're stressed and you're excited, you're going to hurry the warm-up. So the most often when I see new lifters, they think, oh my God, I'm lifting in an hour, and then they do their whole warm-up, and then they have 45 minutes before their first lift. Yeah. Then you cool down, and then you're in trouble.
Yeah, absolutely. Something that I would like to add to it, especially for new lifters that they don't understand how everything works, it's not, as Jessie's mentioned, let's say there is 10 lifters in that fly. It's not that you get a number and you say you're the number 4 and you are always going to be the number 4. Doesn't work like that. How does it work? Okay, you have an empty barbell, everybody knows, 20 kilograms, and we are going to start to put weight on it. The weight doesn't go down, the weight only goes up. So how I know when it's gonna be my turn? It's gonna depend of how strong you are. So if you are from the strongest people in that flight, you ended up lifting at the end of the flight. But if you are not that strong in comparison to other lifters, you are gonna be from the first people to lift. So that is what you need to keep in mind. Now, if you you want to do some of mental competition and you want to challenge yourself and you are like, I'm against to this girl and she asked for 120. No, I want to change my way. I'm gonna do 122.5 because I want to beat her. Well, this is part of the game. But just for you to know that the barbell always go up and never go down in the weight.
So I think the biggest thing for me, like once you know all the rules and like how to set up and how you're going to do your warm up and your nutrition, the biggest factor for me being successful at meet was coming to terms with how to control my mental state, how to stay calm, what my process was between each lift. Do you want to tell me about, or tell our audience about what you do as far as mental state on comp day?
Yeah, as Jessie mentioned, each athlete is different. What may work for me doesn't mean that should work for Jessie or for any of you guys. So for example, in my case, meanwhile we're training and Jessie is listening to podcasts. I don't understand how she does that. I listen to salsa and reggaeton probably during my trainings, right? There is people that they need to get really hype and a lot of rock music and have their, I don't know, headphones, and they need to get treated like shit by other people screaming and stuff. I don't know, you just do whatever that make you happy and whatever that make you be in the mood for a big lift. In my case, I try to have some cues in my mind just before I'm going to lift. So as I'm Latina, of course these cues are in Spanish, and it's so funny because people always say, what are you saying? And probably I'm the only person who understands, but that helped me to bring me on and to get ready, and basically are things that I repeat to myself. This is light, this is nothing for you, this is yours. And those are like really powerful cues for me, and I just get ready. I guess one of the lifts that are most scary for the people is the squat, right? Because it's the first one and people think, what happens if I cannot lift the barbell? Well, the good news is nothing happens. Worst case scenario, you're gonna squat, you get in the hole and you won't get out of it. Remember, you will have 3 spotters in the case of light lifters. For the heavy boys, probably you will have around 4 or 5 spotters. So worst case scenario, you get in the hole and there is no way that you get out, they are gonna remove the barbell from you. Please do not throw the barbell back, because that happened before and almost someone died.
Break people.
Yes, don't do it. Just wait, they are gonna be very fast and move the barbell from you. So don't be afraid about that.
I love that you said that what's the worst case scenario, you fail. Because we so often have that fear that what if I fail, and it stops us from trying. So for me, my mental state when on comp day, we've done all the hard work in months and months of training before the day we compete. Normally, I have always done my second attempts in training. So it's only the third attempt that's even going to get close to doing a PR. And depending on the day, it might be, the third attempt may be a lift that you've done before as well. So there's nothing to be scared of. Then it's just another training day, but we have an audience.
Absolutely.
For me, I'm a very calm, systematic lifter. So we've got friends who need to get hyped up and they need people to smack their backs and scream at them and get angry. I personally need to be as calm as possible. I don't need hype. I don't need to be distracted by everything that's going on around me. As Lo mentioned, I listen to podcasts and audiobooks, generally on something completely unrelated to fitness, because I get distracted and I don't think about what's going on. So I can stay completely calm, and then it's not getting overexcited. That allows me that by the time I come to lift, I can just take off, and then it's another training lift for me. So then I'm going through the same process I go through every time I lift in training. And I talk about this all the time when I'm coaching, that every lift we're aiming for it to be the same, from your first warm-up to the heaviest weight you'll ever lift. So if you have that process already in place, then it doesn't matter if what's going on around you. You'll just step up to the bar and you go through the same process that you go through every other training day. And I found that for me is the most successful way that I can get through the lifts. But like Lo mentioned, it's about finding what works for you. If you're someone who needs to get hyped up, make sure that you have a coach in your corner that understands that and can get you really excited. If you need someone to smack you on the back, you have to communicate that with them and say, this is what I need. Yeah. It's I need to make sure that when I have someone that's handling me, that they know I don't need that and that's not going to help me. Yeah. So understanding that about yourself will mean that you can ask for what you need from the people that are around you on the day.
One of the main things that you need to keep in mind is about the people that is around yourself during the meeting competition. Why? In my case, as I said, this is very personal. I consider the meetings like any training day. So you will see me making jokes and just going around, dancing, laughing, blah, blah, blah. It seems like I'm very unfocused, and then just someone tell me, Lo, it's your turn, and I just get in my competition mood. But that's how it works for me. Now, keep it in mind, during a competition, everybody suddenly became a coach. It's like in a soccer game, isn't it? Mm. You're watching a soccer game and suddenly everybody knows about soccer. It's exactly the same. And a lot of people is gonna tell you do, don't do. just try to really isolate those comments. If you have that one person that you really trust, listen to that person. And the most important, listen yourself. You know your own body, you know how much you can give, and make wise decisions. And especially for coaches, don't be so stubborn. It's not about to put tons of weights in the barbell and make your athletes die and make your athletes do really awful technique in the platform. The security of your athletes is one of the most important things. So if your athlete can give only 5 kilo more, 2.5 kilo more, please make wise decisions. And also you guys, if you feel like, no, I cannot do it, just choose something that makes you feel comfortable and don't feel pressure or don't feel pushed by another people.
Yeah, point. I think that's a really great thing with that. I see oftentimes, not often, but occasionally someone will have pushed really hard on a second attempt possibly, and they say, oh, you know, I strained with my back, or there's been some kind of thing. This comp is never going to be your last comp. Don't decide that you're going to leave it all on the floor and risk injuring yourself worse. Be conservative. If you pull something, if there's something that does not feel right, it's okay to step back. It's okay not to do the third attempt. It's okay to lift lighter than you thought you were going to lift. And it's okay to say, well, today just didn't go my way, and we're going to learn from it, and we're going to make sure that whatever didn't work today works next time. If you risk injuring yourself seriously, then it may be the last time you ever lift, and that's not worth it. We want you to have long lifting careers and to be able to say one day that you're lifting with the best in the world.
And also remember, the central nervous system gets impacted. So obviously after this competition, it doesn't matter if you did a total of 100 kilo or if you did a total of 400 kilo. That was your maximum. That was the best that you can do during that day. So of course, during the oncoming week, probably the next 2 oncoming weeks, you won't feel like training at all. You will feel extremely tired, and then you will feel a little bit frustrated because you will say, how come I cannot even warm up with this weight? So just remember, it's a process. The central nervous system is going to get impacted, and you will need also from that time to get fully recovered and get back on the game. Another of the questions is how to get prepared for the competition. When should I lift last day? Well, recommendation is, if the meeting is on Friday, for example, you want to do probably a session on Monday where you're gonna be with a few singles, not too heavy. Then the last session on Wednesday, where definitely is gonna be a light session. You just want to feel the weight, move in all the lifts, squat, bench and deadlift, just to get the motion of the movement, and then rest 2 days prior of the meet. That would be the the best planning game.
I agree. To summarize, pack the night before all of the things that you need for your equipment on the day.
2, think about your nutrition. What do you need to eat during the day? Hydration, keep it ready for that day.
3, make sure that you have your attempt selections planned ahead. Also, all of your warm-up numbers planned ahead so that you don't have to think about them on competition day.
And the last one, don't listen to stupid people. Just do your game, do your thing, enjoy and have fun.
Thanks for watching. I'm Jessie.
I'm Lo.
If you enjoyed this content, please don't forget to subscribe.
Also, if you have any questions, please send a direct message to the Instagram accounts that will be in the description of the video.
Stay strong, stay hungry.
Live sexy.